We just got a letter. We just got a letter. We just got a letter. Wonder who it's from.
So as far as you know, you have good semen.
What the fuck?
Welcome back to Remembering the Razzies.
Did you forget the name for a second?
No, I'm better this week. I got checked out.
Okay. Alright.
What did we watch this week, Jacob?
This week we watched The Postman
We did.
for 3 hours.
We did. It's a 2-hour movie. I don't know why we watched it for 3 hours.
Yeah, we really fucked up there, didn't we?
This movie is a post-apocalyptic film set in the far future of 2013. It is about a man who, after being enlisted in a racist army, the army of racists are kind of like the unofficial government there. Not really a government, they're just kind of like, they enforce their will on these smaller individual
Small
communities.
towns.
Kevin Costner gets caught up in that, and then he gets out. He escapes. It's very lucky. He finds an old U.S. post office truck with a dead body in there. He steals the uniform, goes to a new town to find food, and then passes off a bullshit lie about how he is the new postman of the new government of the United States.
He keeps the lie up and gives people hope that the government's coming back, and so other people want to also become postmen, and it really kind of just gets out of control for him, and he essentially starts his own form of government.
I did not hate this movie.
No, it's, I think this story as a premise is very good. I think they could have put a little bit more detail into how we got to this point, but once we get into this world and like see how it works and stuff, like it's a pretty good, like, this isn't sci-fi, but it is like dystopian future-esque.
It's like an alternate future.
Yeah,
it's
cool.
interesting.
Yeah. It definitely is too long.
Yes.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff you could cut out of this movie.
I think if you cut stuff out, it would actually make it more intriguing. If you cut out the first 45, 50 minutes of this, where you kind of see like how Kevin Costner becomes the postman, if you cut that out and then just kind of add a little bit of exposition later on just covering what happened in that, it could lead to an intriguing mystery. I think you could honestly start it right when he gets to the truck. Like, don't show like what he's escaping from or anything. Just like show him getting into a truck, surviving, putting on the postman thing. So that way we know that he's lying, but we don't know like to what extent he's lying.
Yeah.
And then later it's revealed that, he escaped from this camp where Nazis run it. Like, I think that could have been a very interesting twist.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. Yeah, because there's the part where his, like, love interest is, like, tending to his wounds after the racists attack the town. And then she rips off, like, his sleeve, and she sees the brand. It's just number 8, and that's the brand of the enemy. Like, I turned to Jacob, and I was like, that could have been a great, like, plot twist.
A really good reveal, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of other stuff in the film. Like, they'll just show random shit happening that you could just infer is happening.
Yeah.
You could just cut all that out. You could probably get it under 2 hours, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. The only thing I'd add to this movie is, like, more of a... They have, like, a little bit of, like, a narration at the beginning to kind of say where we're at. I would have preferred a 10, 20-minute, like, montage of history leading up to that point.
They mentioned that this apocalypse, or whatever this is just brought on because of weather events, like some kind of famine, plagues. They just kind of say, like, every single apocalyptic thing, and then they're like, and now we're here. But it doesn't really make sense with what we're given.
Yeah, like in the book, or like the Wikipedia at least tells me, and it wasn't clear in the movie, that, like, the law of eight, like, that cult army was, like, kind of started by, like, some farmer in the Midwest, and the KKK kind of just brought it together. I want, like, a Lord of the Rings, like, they spend the first 15-20 minutes in Fellowship, like, talking about thousands of years of history in a really, like, good and compelling way. And you could have, this is just a 20-year period.
The point where the movie starts is only 13 years after the apocalypse starts.
Yeah.
Which isn't a lot. You can cover that pretty quick.
The army keeps talking about their leader, Howe, or whatever his name is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm curious about how American Hitler came to power.
It's not like they didn't have the time in the movie to tell
Oh
us.
yeah, because they had the time.
Yeah, so that's really my only criticism of this thing, though. The pacing was kind of shit.
Yeah.
It meanders a lot, and you could just cut a bunch of stuff. There are hammy moments
Yeah,
in
there
the
are a
acting.
Monkey.
But beyond that, like, I think the story is really intriguing. I didn't hate any characters in specific. I think, if anything, maybe like there was too many secondary characters. Like they get set up and then they die really quickly, especially towards the beginning.
Just cut out that first like 45 minutes, condense it, and it's fine. Because
Sure.
there are those two like main guys that he wants them to escape with him, and
They both die.
they die by the end of the first third
Yeah.
of the movie. So yeah, if you just cut or condense that first third, this movie would have been a lot better.
Now that I've kind of experienced the story, I don't think it would have the same effect, but like I could see this being like a good remake.
I want this to get like the Dune treatment.
Yeah.
Because Dune was made by David Lynch in the 80s, and it was, I guess, really bad. But now they're remaking it with Dennis. I don't know how to pronounce his last name.
Hopper.
The guy. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
The guy from Stranger Things.
Yeah, he did like Arrival. He did the new Blade Runner. So
Okay.
now he's doing Dune. If you like attach a decent director to this who like
For sure.
could portray the source material a little better, then yeah, I would totally watch like a remake of this movie.
What was it nominated for? What did it win though?
Let's find out. So this was nominated for 5 Razzies and it won them all. It was a clean sweep this year.
Wow.
Worst original song for the entire song selection.
Wow. Okay.
Oof. Worst screenplay, worst director, worst actor, worst picture. So let's start with worst original song.
Yeah.
There are recognizable songs in this. The most recognizable was Come and Get Your Love.
Yeah.
But it wasn't bad.
No, I actually really like that. And it makes sense for like the world that they're in.
Yeah.
If anything, I think the score was
I was
bad.
gonna say the same thing.
Yeah, I don't think the songs were bad, but the score was, you could just rip footage from Spirit Stallion the Cimarron and just put the music from
on,
this
yeah.
over it, and you could not tell.
Which is a shame. This is James Newton Howard, and he did just a couple memorable ones: Pretty Woman, The Fugitive, Dark Knight, Space Jam.
Oh, so this guy is a heavy hitter.
Oh yeah, it's very hammy 90s.
Yeah, I don't know if necessarily it was bad, it was just very hammy.
Yes, for
Yeah,
sure.
That's a better word for it.
Worst screenplay.
I think the screenplay could be better, like, just the way that we've said it, where, like, you could just condense the first hour and kind of just do a little bit of exposition later and you would be fine. Everything else was okay.
I don't think the screenplay was bad. It's how much of the screenplay they kept in the movie. Again, I need to read the book to understand how well it was adapted, but the ending was very much like a let's resolve everything real quick.
Yeah, and let's not have anyone be the bad guy. Like,
Yeah.
no hard choices were made at the end of this movie. It
Yeah.
was like, let's not kill him, and then the bad guy tries to get back at the good guys, and then another bad guy shoots the first bad guy.
It is very like, okay, this is kind of
Yeah,
everywhere.
like, we want this guy to die, but we don't want our heroes to kill him. We'll just
Yeah.
have this other guy do it.
Yeah, for sure.
That's fine. Honestly, I think Kevin Costner probably should have died at the end of the movie.
Oh yeah.
I think that would have been pretty gratifying, especially with his character being so, like, heroic, and towards the end, at least, like, it seems like he's becoming, like, this self-sacrificing character,
Yeah.
which at the beginning he is not. So, like, that's a decent character arc. Like,
Mm-hmm.
they could have wrapped it up there, and that would have been fine. Yeah.
I don't think the screenplay was bad. I just think they probably should have cut quite a bit.
For
You
sure.
don't have to. When you film your movie and you film everything in the screenplay, you don't have to keep
Yeah,
everything.
you can just leave some of it on the cutting room
So
floor.
I think the fault of that could be the editor's choices.
Yeah. It was directed by
Kevin Costner, so his choices as well.
Right.
Speaking of Kevin Costner, he also won Worst Actor.
I don't think he was bad.
I don't either. It's my feeling with the 90s that I've brought up in every fucking episode that he just acts. It's just a performance.
Yeah.
It's nothing like earth-shattering bad.
I also haven't seen Braveheart, but he seems like a
Yeah.
very Braveheart-esque character. White male protagonist.
Yeah.
Like, he's fine.
Speaking of Kevin Costner, he also won Worst Director.
Yeah.
In some places I could say yes.
Sure.
for the fact that he did decide to keep, like, everything in the movie. I don't know if he had, like, final cut or if it was the producers that had it. Kevin Costner was big at the time, so I'm assuming he'll have
He had some
say.
It, yeah.
I don't think I'd give him worst director because
Yeah.
I think it was a very decently made movie despite the fact that the pacing and the length were so.
Sure. It could be better, but it wasn't a bad movie. If a person is the worst director, it's probably fairly obvious. This wasn't badly directed. They made some choices that probably could have been better, but at the same time, like, it's not a bad movie, so I wouldn't say that he was a bad director.
Speaking of the movie, this movie also won Worst Picture. Now, this was nominated against Speed 2, Cruise Control, Fire Down Below, Batman and Robin, and Anaconda. Oh, now I gotta place those.
I know, sorry.
Yeah, I don't think The Postman deserved it.
No, this felt like a lower tier movie that, like, we would watch in school.
Oh, for sure.
Like, it had that kind of feeling. Like, I could see watching this in, like, sci-fi or something.
Yeah. Personally, I don't know if I would have given this a nomination for Worst Picture.
No, it's very middle of the road in terms of, like, it's just a 90s movie, but, like, it's not actively bad.
Yeah.
It's not
There's nothing in this
worst.
that makes me like, oh my gosh, I hate this movie. What were these people thinking?
Yeah,
If anything, it's just the editing.
Yeah,
the
the
pacing.
runtime.
Yeah. Out of these, I think I've seen most of Batman and Robin.
everyone can agree that Batman and Robin is a bad movie.
Yeah.
It's not unenjoyable.
No.
It is like, you can watch it and have a good time, but it is bad. This one isn't bad. This is just, it's a movie.
Yeah. I wouldn't sit down for 3 hours and watch this again.
No.
But I'll have fond memories of this. I'll
Yeah.
hope for a remake someday.
Yeah, like, if someone talks about it, I won't be like, oh, that movie sucked. I'll just be like, yeah, I've seen it. It's fine.
It's cool. Yeah. Anyway, do you want to rank these?
Yeah, let's do it.
Best made. I think it was a pretty decent, besides the editing again, I think it was a pretty decently made movie.
Yeah, it had, like, some nice big shots. I honestly, if not first, I would put it second.
I was thinking second, because at
Okay.
least Showgirls was edited to a point where we didn't have to sit down for 3 hours
That's
and watch
true.
it. Showgirls had I think I like the story in Showgirls better. It was more believable in the ways that it kind of tried to wrap up the story, whereas this one was just two dudes duking it out.
That's true.
In Showgirls, I'm sure if one of the girls got pregnant, I would know sooner.
That's true. We didn't talk about that.
Yeah,
the timeline in this is all over the place. You
watch
basically
the
have to
movie.
describe the entire plot.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
But basically, a lot of things happen after she gets pregnant.
The whole movie.
The whole movie happens, yeah.
Yeah.
It gets to the climax, and by the time they get to the climax of the movie, she's still not showing,
Yeah.
which is the thing that was throwing Tristan and I off, because a lot of things happen, and we were like, has she already had the baby? She never shows once in the movie.
Yeah.
And then after the climax happens, she gets a letter from Kevin Costner. She's already had the baby. She has the baby with her, and it's inferred that some time has passed, but we aren't sure how much time has passed.
Yeah.
Because when she gets the letter, Kevin Costner has already showed up. But in the letter, he's like, I won't be able to show up for some time. So
The timeline is weird. It's
yeah,
weird.
a lot of things happen. Basically, yeah, okay.
So for that reason, I think we should put it second.
Yeah, let's put it second. Most entertaining? I would probably put it again under Showgirls.
I would too.
It's long enough to not keep my attention fully, but it's also like, this is still good to watch.
And it's entertaining, not for the
badness.
like when
of
we
it.
started rating it most entertaining, we rated these movies because they're bad and they're funny because
Yeah.
they're bad. This one actually, the story did keep me for most of it, but
Yeah.
again, not as much as Showgirls because the story was more compelling, or Ford Fairlane because it was funnier.
Right.
So I agree with you. I'd also put it at number 3.
That's good. All right.
That was a quick. We
We were much more efficient than this movie was.
Yeah.
That's for sure. We only got a couple more.
got 2 more.
So
We're almost through the 90s.
oh my God, Wild Wild West is the last one we get to watch.
Yeah.
I forgot. I'm so excited.
But we're not watching Wild Wild next week. Wild Wild
Ooh,
next
ooh.
West week. Next we're watching an Alan Smithy film, Burn Hollywood Burn.
That's the full title.
That is the full title. I don't know anything about it.
I'm excited. We need an end bit.
We need an end bit.
Tristan.
Yeah.
I have a letter for you.
Give me.
All right, here you go. What's it say?
Wait, oh yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman.